Hi there, it's David John, the Resourceful Coach, and we're here on a cold January morning in Kent at Corinthians Golf Club, and we're going to talk about single-figure tee shots. Okay, and this is sort of the feeling I've got from people coming back to me regarding my videos. They want to know, what are the different areas? What have we got to do? And there are my 12 shots of golf videos out there. There's one where I talk about I play 3 holes and I show you what to do to play to 80, shoot around that 80 score. But we're just going to highlight a little bit more today the focus on the driving. And if you've watched my videos, most of my emphasis to start with is about data. And it's understanding what you need to do. So it's getting your level of expectation in the right place, combine that with the right mindset and then the right technique, and you've got a really good chance to achieve what you want to do. Now, I'm going to start with a really important thing. I get golfers come to me who can hit it further than what I'm going to suggest you need to do. And I'm not a coach who will see a golfer who maybe can hit it, let's say 300 yards off the tee, and they say, I want to be a single-figure golfer, and I will reduce the distance of what we're going to talk about. If you've got that asset of being able to hit it a long way, we're never going to get rid of that. Let's see if we can use it. Let's see if we can get an advantage from hitting it further off the tee. But what do we actually need to achieve? Now, when it comes to my driving data, it's always about hitting around about 75% of your fairways. And the other 25%, you're still in a position, you're not losing balls, you're in a position you can still move the ball down the fairway. But on average, as a single figure golfer, if you miss the fairway, it's probably costing you about a quarter of a shot. So the distance we're going to talk about is a little bit further than you actually need to do, but it will average out if you hit the odd ball into the rough. So you're hitting about 25% into the rough. And that distance is approximately 220 yards. If you can hit 75% of your fairways, 220 yards, you are going to be a player who can shoot 80, maybe high 70s. If you want to be, let's go through 2 other bits of data. If you hit more fairways and you're getting up towards 90%, then you only need to hit it 200 yards. And if you're a player who can hit it further, let's say you can get it out there at 250, you're now looking at about 50% of your fairways. So you can see we're giving you 3 different options there of what you can achieve. So I'm a massive believer. All of my lessons, or majority of my lessons, are taken on the golf course, and you start to learn what golfers can do. And to play to 80, it's that sort of level where you can be exceptionally good off the tee and not have the greatest of short games and still shoot 80, or you can be a little bit inconsistent off the tee and have a great short game and shoot 80. So there are different ways that you can get yourself around the golf course. And I think that's really important to understand. There's not just one way. And I think if you watch my videos, you'll see that that's the whole idea. So it's just not one method. We're going to show you 3 different shots here that may give us the results that we want off the tee to get the desired result to play to that single figure level. We'll talk a little bit about technique, and we'll talk a little bit about why these other clubs may work for you. At the end of the video, we're going to go down and look at the 3 shots, see what results I've got with them, and show how they've fallen into our area so I can still play to that single figure level of golfer. So we're talking about driving, and the most common club people are going to pick out of the bag is the driver. And the driver is really important to find one that suits you. So you get the right loft, the right flex of shaft, and to achieve what we want to achieve, we need to get that clubhead speed around about probably mid 90 miles an hour. We don't need to be swinging at well over 100 miles an hour. If you are, you can play low single figure golf, that's great. But if we're somewhere between 90, 95, 96 miles an hour, you're doing absolutely fine. And as I said, nowadays with the club fitting that we can do, get the right shaft, just as important to get the right loft on your club. And we're going to show you, especially through the first 2 shots we're going to go through, there are different ways you can get it down there around that 200, 220. So let's talk about the driver, okay? That's our first sort of option. That's what we tend to choose as our first option because we're talking about driving, okay? And I think what's important to understand when we're hitting a shot is what we call the launch angle. It's getting the ball coming off the face at the right launch angle to get as much distance through the air and reduce the backspin as we play the shot. And there's 2 ways we're going to do this, okay, with 2 different clubs. The most common one we're going to use is the driver. And you probably all know this, we tend to play the driver. We'll just come from this angle here. We play the driver rather than the center of your stance. You would play the ball nearer your front foot. And the reason for that is simply one thing. If you are hitting more up on the golf ball, you're doing 2 things, okay? Let's just explain the first. Let's come a little bit closer to the camera. Majority of your golf shots, when you're hitting an iron, you're hitting down on the ball, and that's creating lots of backspin. And that's brilliant. When you're hitting a 7, 8, 9 iron into a green, You want backspin because you want the ball to stop on the green. When you're hitting your driver, you don't want backspin, you want to reduce it. So if we're now hitting more on the up, which is why we position the ball forward in the stance, you're now still getting backspin. Important to understand, you never have topspin. Topspin means the ball's going to do that, it's going to go straight into the ground, but you're reducing the backspin on the ball. And you're doing that by really just using the loft of the club, striking underneath the golf ball. So it's sort of getting the feeling, we're not sort of coming down underneath that way, we're coming underneath that way into the ball, okay? And that's why you tee it up. So the tee is a really important thing. If you want to reduce your spin on the ball, get a setup that's going to have a nice high tee. So you can see here, I've got plenty of tee height. You can see at least half the ball over the top. If I now position the ball forward, you can see now that the top of my zipper, my microphone here is now behind the ball. This is more the low point of the swing. So now the club is on the up, and I'm now going to create a little bit more of natural arc, and it's just the loft of the club and the angle of attack, which is now going slightly up, that's going to give you the launch angle. We want a launch angle somewhere, say for the average golfer, somewhere between 12 and 14 degrees. So I've got a 10-degree driver. I need to achieve that. I need a setup and a swing that is now going to hit between 2 and 4 degrees up. And if I'm doing those two things, I add that to my 10 degrees lofted driver, there's my 12 to 14 degrees. So really important that you get that understanding of what you're doing. If you watch one of my other videos, Longer Straighter Drives, Guaranteed Draw, we talk a little bit about positioning then the ball slightly out the toe of the club with the driver. And the reason for that, as we've just said, if we're hitting slightly up on the ball, it's now going to feel like the centrifugal force is going to pull the club away from your body, and it will throw the middle of the club into the ball. So that's what we're looking for. So the ultimate is the driver. Those couple of tips there with your ball position, make sure you're hitting up on the ball and tee it up a little bit out of the toe, will give you that better strike, okay? If I'm swinging around that 95 miles an hour, which we're going to do now, then I should be getting around about that 220 down the hole, okay? But the key thing now I always look at with all these 3 shots we're going to play is rhythm and tempo. I want to feel the rhythm's good. So there we are, slightly out the toe of the club, ball position forward, and from there just nice rhythm. And that's nicely down. Probably just run into the because there's quite a camber on this fairway. I've landed on the fairway, but it'll probably run just into the light rough on the left side. Probably because that felt a really good strike, was probably near a 240. Okay, but if it's gone in the rough, what we said, as long as it's not thick rough, which it isn't down there, then I'm going to be around about where I need to be to play to single figure golf. So that's the driver, okay? Now, a lot of golfers, I find they can hit their fairway wood just as far as the driver, okay? And we're going to explain why that is. And it's back to that angle of attack. If you are a golfer, and I see it a lot with people driving, and if you sky your drivers, that means a ball that goes severely up in the air, you've gone underneath the golf ball, basically you're hitting a little bit too much down on the ball. But that can work with a fairway wood. I've got a 4-wood here. I've got a 4-wood which has got around about 16 degrees of loft. And what did we say we wanted? We wanted around about 12 to 14 degrees of launch angle. So teed the ball up a lot lower, okay, and that's mainly due to the size of the head, but also due to the fact I'm not going to play it off my front foot. I'm going to move it a little bit back in my stance, and that allows me to feel like I can hit down on the ball a little bit, but I can get a similar launch angle. And you may find you have a little bit more success doing that with a fairway wood, and that may be down to just simply the length of the club. You feel like you've got a little bit more control. So it's another option, okay? It's not as powerful as the driver, okay, because it's a shorter shaft and, as we said, a little bit less, a little bit more loft. But as said, with this swing, I might get a similar trajectory. But this is the club I may get closer to the 220 we were talking about. So again, I'm going to do the same thing, same rhythm. Yeah, and that one will be nicely on the fairway. So you can see with my coaching what we're encouraging you to do here. There are different options. Don't feel there's just one method to play this game. Okay, there are lots of different ways. Now, here's your third way. Okay, we're looking at that guy. If you want to be a little bit more accurate off the tee, shorter club, we've gone to a hybrid. We've gone to an 18-degree hybrid. Again, if I hit a little bit down on it, give me a little bit more loft than the fairway wood that I hit off the tee. But if I've got enough club head speed, might be dropping down nearer to 90 now, high 80s with this club. I'm going to get around that 200-yard mark. But if I've got a little bit more accuracy, remember what we said, if I can hit 90% of my fairways, it's another option. That's the key thing that we're looking at. So playing this one, just go through that again. We've played the driver off the front foot. We've played this, the fairway a little bit further forward, this one a little bit further back. Sorry, the fairway wood a little bit further back than the driver, but we're gradually moving it closer to the center of the stance. But hopefully what you'll see, and if you've watched my videos, you'll see this throughout my videos, the rhythm doesn't change. From the driver to the fairway wood to the hybrid, keep the same idea. And again, expectation is this is going to go around that 200-yard mark. And that's good. That's nicely down the fairway. Done what we want to do. So if we look at my 3 shots, and we're going to go down and have a look at the moment, the hybrid went around that 200 yards down the fairway. Good. Remember what we said 90% of the time. The fairway wood went probably what we wanted, 220 down the fairway. We're looking at 75% of the time. And then we've got the driver a little bit further down. It may have gone in the rough, but we'll only know when we get down there. But again, if it is in the light rough, we're okay. So let's go down, have a look at those 3 shots, see what we've got, and do a recap of what we've done today. So we've come down to the fairway, and at this angle, the hole is sort of continuing down there, but you can see the 3 balls and where they've ended up. I'm just going to give you a yardage. I've gone down and looked at the other 2, so I'll give you those yardages in a minute. And we were looking for around about 200 for this one. And as we said, if we're hitting the fairway 80, 90% of the time, we've hit that 204 yards. That's perfect. That's going to do what we need it to do if we are that slightly shorter hitter off the tee. The second ball there, we can see a little bit further on, is around 220. Well, that's the average that I want. So this was with my hybrid. That was with my fairway wood. It doesn't mean that's the club you got to use. If you have to hit a fairway wood to get here or a driver to get here, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's finding the club that achieves these results. So roughly 200, 220, and you can just see it's just gone in the light rough. The rough here at this time of year is really quite light, so it's not too much of a problem. And that's gone around about 235. So it's gone a little bit further with my driver, but I'm in the rough. It's playable, so it's still going to do what I need it to do. And that's the important thing that we're looking for. It's looking at those options and what we can achieve to play to that level. Find your way. If that's what you're serious about doing, playing to single figure golf, hopefully this video, what it will show you is the 3 different ways you can do it. 200 yards, hitting most of your fairways. I'm talking 80, 90% and above. 220, you're now talking 75%. And if you do go in the rough, I've gone 235, we now need to be probably 60%. If you are hitting it further than that, then you can be 50%, but you've got to be hitting it around about 250. But the great advantage, if you can hit it further at 250, it gives you that opportunity to be low single figures. So as I said, I never stop anybody playing lower if we can. That's the key thing. I'll never stop you hitting it further. So that's the priority. Get that distance if you can, but this is the 3 results that we're looking for that will play to single figure golf. I hope you've enjoyed today's tip. It's gone through single figure golf off the tees, off those par 4s and par 5s. Get that ball in play, get it around that 220, and you can succeed at doing that. If you've enjoyed this video, please watch some of my other videos that I've gone through. There's the 12 shots of golf, sort of going through how to break 80. Have a look at that video. It shows me playing 3 holes and the quality of shot you need to play to that level and get your expectation in the right place. If you have enjoyed the video, please share it with your friends, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you soon.